haven't we?
Life, and then sinus surgery.
Sinus surgery.
Which...
You, not me.
Which I'm still recovering from. Apparently, it's a 6-month thing. So it's really slow.
Yeah.
And I was not emotionally prepared for that. I got a little cocky thinking that I had supernatural healing powers. And I've joked that this is my superhero, ability to, because I bounce back usually from things really quick.
Right.
And this was like, no. Nice try.
I knew going in you were real optimistic.
I think I'm like, okay, I'm having surgery this week, but we'll record next week.
Yeah.
And I was like, I think I texted you, I cannot breathe. I think I am dying.
But you're feeling better?
I feel so much better, and it's just going to get better. So I'm super glad I did it. It was successful.
Great.
And it's only going to improve.
You're on the good side.
I'm on the good side of it now.
Yeah.
But it was... Anyway, it seems like it's such a silly, like it doesn't seem like a major thing.
No, it does. It does seem connected to your breathing. And that seems like a major thing.
The feeling like you're drowning.
Yeah.
It's
worse.
It was not. It was... That's enough of my whining.
I'm sorry about it, though.
This is the whining segment of the Pink Couch.
Oh, I've got some things. Let me think.
Bring it on.
I'm good. I think I'm good. I'm ready for this whole season to be over.
Yeah.
I'm ready to be on the other side of politics, as if there is another side. But I am ready, and I'm ready to have people go back to civility and humanity and those kinds of things. Not that we've entirely left it, or that anyone has... or that everyone has left at all. But I do think large segments of the populace have lost their ever-loving minds right now.
It's so strange to me how just the topic of politics, it's always been divisive, but I've never seen it as polarizing in my life the way it is.
Especially in the church.
Especially in the church. And I asked my dad, have you ever experienced this in your life? And he said, not since Vietnam. And that, I don't know, that really, I'm kind of a history geek, so I was like, oh yeah, tell me more. How do you feel about that? But I want to get to a place where I'm not thinking less of people.
Right.
And I tell myself, and I make jokes about this on social media constantly because it's my coping mechanism to make a joke about it.
Oh, your social media is my coping mechanism. I just need to feel better about things.
So I like to say on there, like, please stop fighting, and then I'll follow it up with, some of you have never used a gas station bathroom and it really shows. It has nothing to do. Yeah. So I love to build it up like I'm going to drop a bomb politically, and then I
here's a confession that may get me unfriended.
Yeah. Some of y'all have never had to use a porta potty. I can tell. Or I remember back in March how you acted about toilet paper. I will not forget.
This is still in play.
So my coping mechanism is to make it sound like I'm going to say something political. Oh, I'm going to lose friends over this, and then I say something usually toilet related. I'm sorry. I don't know. That's where I go.
You have to be.
But I want to get to a place where, gosh, I wish I would stop reading the comments.
Yes.
But I'm like, I'm like that Michael Jackson gif where I just go and pop some corn and I'm like, this is a tasty argument here.
Yeah.
And I'm like, And I think I leave that. I usually leave that gif on a thread that I follow.
Yeah, the little popcorn one. Yeah.
So I'm like, I don't want to chime in, but I want y'all to know I saw this.
Yeah.
And I was eating it up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good or bad?
I don't know.
I
I left Facebook probably 8 weeks ago, and just said I can't do it. Facebook to me is the most outrageously divisive right now.
Yeah.
And then I eased my way back in just by posting and running. Like I'd post and then get out of there, and I wouldn't even read the comments on my stuff. And now I will go like once a week or twice a week and read posts but not comments. And every time I read comments, I regret it. Every time.
It's so much easier to love people when you don't read the comments.
Yeah.
And I love to love people. And I always thought maybe that was like a special gift I had. Like, I've always found it pretty easy to love people. And so this season is kind of throwing me for a loop because I'm finding it harder to love.
Yeah, it's rough. It's for sure rough. But we are 2 weeks away from Election Day.
Lord.
And perhaps on the other side of this, there could be more peace, at least more peace. I'm going to just believe for it, because why not? Why not give ourselves the illusion that this is going to get way better?
You know, I'm hopeful, and I'm praying this way, that after this weird season of politics and pandemic, that we all come out of this appreciating people more.
Yeah.
Appreciating our neighbors more.
Yeah, if it's even just that one thing that we gain.
I had a really nice conversation with my neighbor across the street, and we were sitting on opposite sides, but I thought, man, I just appreciated that 5-minute exchange I had with her.
Yeah.
And taking out the garbage and talking to the other neighbor on the other side. I thought, man, my poor extroverted soul is starving. And then at church on Sunday, I was doing some hosting, and there was people I hadn't seen in months, and I could feel the tears, and I'm like, whoa, Jenny, dial it back.
Yeah.
But I couldn't. Anyway, it just was.
Yeah. Oh, we're all carrying a lot right now. We really are. Even a lot of the weight of the world combined with the weight of our world, and so I think as we begin to see a light at the end of the tunnel, a lot of things will get, it'll be maybe at least easier to get perspective. Maybe that's what I think we need.
And I think that this is the perfect segue into what we're going to talk about today with...
I'm excited about this one.
Cheap seats, which is kind of... The whole cheap seats thing is brilliant.
Yeah.
And it's kind of part of the foundation, I feel like. It's part of the foundation of Sheology.
It is, yeah.
And so, if you haven't heard us talk about the cheap seats, or even our cheers from the cheap sheets.
Right.
Cheap,
I know,
cheap.
it's hard.
Whoa.
It's hard to say.
Whoa, Jenny. I should have warmed up a little bit, huh?
Cheers from the cheap seats.
Cheers from the cheap seats.
Yes.
Which, whenever we post a cheers from the cheap seats, I'm always amazed by the feedback and the number of likes that those posts get on Instagram. Because I feel like it really resonates and offers encouragement to people.
Yep.
But, so, there's good and bad about the cheap seats.
Absolutely, yeah. Cheap seats, the concept for me was born, and I know Brene Brown has talked about this some as well, but it was born for me when I was, had been single for about a year after my husband died, and I started entertaining the idea of dating. My now husband, I was entertaining not just dating in general, but dating him. And I knew lots of people wouldn't like it. And I was really, didn't realize how addicted I was to being liked until that moment. And so when I started to realize people aren't going to like this, people are going to have things to say that aren't kind. I mean, people have been so supportive of me and my family for, all the years while Steve was dying and then as a single mom. And I just knew, the gig is up. People are going to have things to say. And so I had to start to do some business with what I believed about what people said to and about me. And I just realized, you've got these people that can speak into your life no matter what. They can say what they want to say to you and you can receive it. Even if you don't agree with it, you can receive it and it's good. But then they're not the only ones who want to speak into your life. Everyone, it feels like, wants to speak into your life, but you can't listen to everyone. And so when it came down to it, I was like, what do I do with the cheap seats? Nothing. I just do nothing. But we do have 5 ways to deal with the cheap seats, because I think you've got to have the first 4 lead up to what you do. And when you do it in the right order, I think it saves your life from a lot of mistakes and a lot of heartache. Awesome. Yeah.
Let's get into it.
Let's get into it. So the first one is get good coaches. we need good coaches in our life. So whenever I say ignore the cheap seats, there's always somebody out there, usually a rule follower, who says, but you have to be accountable to people. But you're not supposed to just live your life the way you want, but that kind of thing. And I mean, for God forbid, you just live your life the way you want. But it's true. I'm not advocating a life of no accountability, but you do have to say, who am I going to be accountable to? Mm-hmm. Because if you picture a team on the field and they are being coached by a coach and then a team of coaches, if the people in the field are listening to the people in the stands, it's going to be chaos. Because what I've discovered is the people in the stands don't agree with each other anyway. Right. So even if I made it my mission to make the people in the stands happy, I couldn't. And so I have to know who I'm accountable to. So I set up in my life 4 women who know all the stuff. They knew everything about my relationship with Cliff from the very beginning. And one was my boss and my dear friend. She saw my life every day. We worked together. She could see it. And then my best friend, who's been my best friend for 35 years, but lives far away and knew both of us, both me and my husband. And then my therapist and my mentor. And those women don't really know each other very well. But I determined I'm not going to do anything unless they're unanimous. I'm going to be that accountable. Wow. Because this is too important, because there are 4 kids involved. There's a whole life involved. My ministry's involved. This is too important to just go on my emotions. Mm-hmm. And so I set them up in my life as the ones who would know everything. And they did, and they do. And that was a good decision. But unless you know who you are accountable to, mm-hmm. it's really hard to know who you're not all the time. So you're going to be inclined to make people happy. And I think there are some people who are more inclined to want to make people happy than others. But I'm one of those people who is. It's a weakness for me.
I think the majority mm-hmm. falls under that category. Mm-hmm. Do you also feel like it's compounded by being a pastor, being in leadership, and you're up front, and I think a lot more people think they know you?
Mm-hmm. Oh, certainly, yeah. It's absolutely compounded by that. I'm a pastor at a big church in a small town where lots of people need to see your life. But I have noticed, like, when I went to Italy, I had some people with me there, and in Italy, in Florence, where we stayed, it's just so hard to find your way, that your GPS doesn't work very well with all the buildings around, and so we're just walking through these paths, getting lost all the time. And there was one person with us who would refuse to turn around and go the other direction because it looked dumb. Just that, like, and I finally said, "It looks dumb to who?" And they said, "Well, to everyone." And I was like, "You will never see these people again. They don't know you. They don't know why you're turning around. You would rather not look dumb in front of these people and miss your reservation at your restaurant? Yeah. That's crazy." But that's how addicted we are to the approval of the watching world. There are cheaper seats than that. People in Italy who do not care whether you're lost or not. But that's how we live. Like, I don't want people to know, that I'm lost or that so.
That's so funny.
I do think it applies to all of us, that we have a tendency to want to please and look okay to the watching world.
Yeah.
So get good coaches. Secondly is identify your end game. You want to know what you're in this for. What is my goal? I won't know who to please or how to please them unless I know what I'm trying to do. Paul said, I press for the prize. I know what the prize is. That's how I press toward it. And so, like, right now, we talked about it. I'm a writer, and so Facebook posts are something that I enjoy doing. But I'll read an article on politics, and I want to write about it. I want to write because I'm a truth person. So I want to write truth. And I want to, that's not right, and this isn't fair, and I don't like that thing, and I don't like how the church is responding to this. And so I'll craft these posts, and then I post them, and then I start to see the arguments unfold, and then I'm unhappy, and I'm frustrated. And one night I was just praying about it. I was really in despair over it. And I felt like the Holy Spirit just said, right now, your lane is hope, and you just have to stay in your lane. Lots of people are taking truth. Lots of people are covering that, or their perception of truth. Mm-hmm. But I don't want you to be a truth writer right now. I want you to be a hope writer. And so every day I'm challenged in that decision to stay in my lane. And so last week there were these influencers that I really respect who were all coming out with who they're voting for posts, and they insinuated you can't be an influencer and not say this election's too important. You need to say who you're voting for and why. This is really, and I just was very tempted by it. Like, oh no, am I doing the wrong thing? Do I need to come out with this? Do I need it? This is truth. This is what I believe. And I just kept feeling like, nope, my lane is hope. And so in that moment, though those influencers may be people that I'll go to for a chicken recipe or some Bible study or whatever, they were the cheap seats for me right then.
Yeah.
Because my end game, I know what it is. And so anyone who doesn't support me in my end game to stay in my lane and write hope is cheap seats. Right. And so it helps me identify who's in and who's out when I know what I'm really pressing toward. And that's different in all areas of our life.
Right.
So you can set up like a parenting mentor and a marriage guru and a blah, blah, blah. And as long as they support where you feel God is telling you to go, then they can be a coach in your life. But otherwise, it's just noise. It's just noise, and you don't need it. Yeah.
Awesome.
So that one, yeah. Number 3, understand how destructive it is to listen to too many voices. I think that we don't stop and say, what will it cost me to get lost in Italy because I just don't want to look stupid? What will it cost me to not date this person that I feel God has brought into my life because I want people to like me better, even though they've got nothing to do with my relationship? Nothing, What will it cost me? And divisive voices are destructive. They throw us off course. They send us down wild goose chases. And you can't make them happy ultimately anyway. And so I think just understanding the destruction of that it steals your peace and that you can't ever make them happy, I think it's really important to know.
You can't make everyone happy. You're not a taco.
You're not a taco. No. It's true. You're not pizza. You can't make everyone happy.
Can't do it.
No. So I think before I thought it was a skill of mine to dodge and weave enough to keep the most of the masses happy. Like, I'm not going to say anything too much this way or too much that way or whatever. I'm not going to do anything weird with my life. I'm going to not dress too young and not dress too old and not, And now I'm like, that's destructive for me to live for that.
There's pressure for neutrality.
Mm-hmm.
At least that's how I'm feeling in this season.
Yeah.
That I'm trying to portray this neutral, and I'm losing it.
Yeah.
I'm losing it, and that's why I just default to things that are not important, like making jokes about porta potties.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to welcome the cheap seats.
Yeah. But it sounds to me like you've got a prize in mind on that, and it's your peace,
my peace,
and your sanity, and it also, I think, and I don't want to put words in your mouth on this, but I think you are someone who's always wanted to lay a really wide welcome mat for people, and so that sacrificing neutrality will narrow the gate of people who can communicate with you.
Somebody told me a couple of years ago, and I think it's one of the greatest compliments I've ever received in my life, was I had a very dear friend tell me, I feel like I can tell you anything and always get love back. Mm-hmm. And I've kind of made that my prayer. Like, I want people to be able to tell me anything and just give love back, because that's what the Lord does for me.
Yeah.
I tell him all kinds of yucky stuff, and I get nothing but love back. But again, it's hard to do.
Yeah, it's hard to do. Yeah, and there is a time for telling truth, and there is a time for. But I want that. I think I want to be invited into that spot.
Yes.
Rather than storming the gates and being like, I'm officially holding you accountable for the actions that have nothing to do with me. It's silly.
No.
I want to be somebody who people can believe that will.
I want to be a safe person.
Yeah.
And that's part of why I love Sheology so much also, is because I feel like it's a really safe space.
Yeah.
And that's why we've had people be able to tell their stories on there recently.
Yeah.
Because it is such a safe space. You don't see ugly comments
Yeah.
on Sheology ever.
Yeah.
And if there was,
Mm-hmm.
we'd fix it.
We'd fix it, yeah, because that's not who we are.
But that's not who we are, but I don't think that's who we attract.
It sounds a little
either.
bit like we have a hired hit out there. We've got
Well, my
we're
husband
gonna bring
is
someone to
Italian.
people's door with glitter. They're gonna just throw glitter in their carpet.
Oh my gosh, the glitter bomb.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we are gonna glitter bomb your. Just throw it through your window.
You're gonna be picking that out of your carpet for months.
It never goes away.
How Sheology responds to negative comments.
It never goes away.
Oh dear. So number 4 is just that it's a restatement of what we've already said. We have to die to the dream of being liked all the time. I think there is just such a seduction with it that I really want to be popular and I want people to think I'm awesome and I want them to think my opinions are good and my words are smart and all of that. And that just ultimately, if you don't run into a place in your life, I don't know, I should, let me fact check this. If you don't run into a place where you have to do something that isn't like loved by the masses, maybe you're not doing enough. Maybe you're not trying enough. Maybe you're not like, you know, I think I've said it before. I used to think my 50s would be the time where I would be smart enough and resourced enough and wise enough and experienced enough to not make mistakes. And now I'm realizing this is the time to make my best mistakes. I've got the resources and the wisdom and the, you know, to be able to come underneath it and be like, this doesn't have to be fatal. It can be fun instead. So I just think, you know, dying to the dream of being liked unlocks so many other dreams. It lets so many other dreams come true. Like so many women who want to speak but are afraid they won't do a good enough job.
Well, you don't. Well, you don't when you start.
Yeah. And who is it you're worried about pleasing right now? Like, that you have to die to the dream of being liked if you want to live out other dreams. You have to.
I love that so much because I think some people don't give themselves that freedom.
Mm-hmm.
And we're gonna talk about failure on another episode. No, I love to talk about failure. Mm-hmm. It's like one of my top 5 favorite things to talk about because I wear that like a badge of honor.
Yeah.
Because it's such a great teacher, and anytime you do something you've never done before, you're gonna suck. Look. Mm-hmm. This podcast might suck for a while. Mm-hmm. I don't think it does, but I mean, we're going for continual improvement, right? The technology piece is going to improve, right? So anytime you're doing things you've never done before, you're not going to make everyone happy. Yeah. You're not going to be popular. Yeah. Also, it's worth noting the shift from you to me for Sheology, which it's not like you went anywhere. You're still here. You're still very involved. I text you about things that you probably don't care about. Because I want to know what you think about, you know, everything. Mm-hmm. But I also had to give myself, and thank God for my husband, who is a very rational human being, who reminded me, look, transitions are natural on-ramps and off-ramps for people. Mm-hmm. And I said, and I'm not Bo. So I had to get around to being okay with people piecing out. Right. Because it's a little different. Right. Because I'm not you.
Yeah. Yeah, so we'll lose contributors and we'll gain them, and we'll lose readers and we'll gain them, and that will be that would be the true if it was still me. But it's true also when it's a new leader. But I honestly feel like this concept, ignore the cheap seats, has become so much a part of my life that I just don't care anymore. I just don't care.
I feel like it gets easier. It's like a muscle. Mm-hmm. You know, you gotta work it out.
Yes.
And
you get better about, in any situation, identifying who are the cheap seats right now. Because even I've said this before and people are a little like, ugh, about it. But when I was dating my kids, it was hard for them. They felt like it was soon. It was a year after Steve died. They weren't anticipating it. Neither was I. And so, but they were so emotionally connected to what had been. And I was in a position to see, no, this will be good for you down the road if we let it happen. And so in this situation, though in no other situation are they the cheap seats in my life, in this situation they were. They were a little bit in the cheap seats. I couldn't, and by that, not that they didn't matter. They mattered so much, but I couldn't listen to them. I couldn't listen to them in terms of direction.
Well, they were emotionally compromised in that situation.
And I knew my coaches loved my kids so much. And I knew everybody was saying, we're doing this we're not doing this in spite of them, we're also moving forward because of them. Because everybody needs to move forward. But it was tricky. And so in every situation, who really am I worried is going to like me right now and why? Who am I going to worry is going to like this decision or not? So don't worry about being liked all the time. Got to die to that dream anyway. It'll serve you in so many ways. That doesn't mean, be nice to everybody. That doesn't mean you're a jerk. But just die to the dream of being liked. And then the last one is just ignore them. That's what we do with the cheap seats. And it's harder than it looks because you want to respond. You want to respond, you want to justify, you want to explain, you want to argue, you want to cry about it. You want to be like, why am I the victim of people not liking me? Ignore it. Let it go. Just let the cheap seats go. That's my advice.
It gets easier.
Yep.
It gets easier the more you go through these 5 steps. Mm-hmm. The more you conquer those first 4. Yeah. Number 5 is like, no big deal.
Yeah. Yeah, and I've learned even now, like, so I've talked to I'm not in this situation, but I've talked to some women who are like, my mother-in-law won't stop telling me what to do in terms of my kids. Just keeps telling me how to raise my kids and what to do or how to do Thanksgiving dinner or how to whatever. and it's interesting because there is that thing of like, how do I respond? What do I do? And I think there comes a point where you have to just say, oh, I'm not going to be able to respond to that. Instead of like, no, this is why I'm raising my kids the way I am. This is why I do it this way. Here's how I came across that. Please don't ever confront me again. It's just, I don't have a response to that. And it's amazing how when you nothing people, it sometimes just fades away. Not that that's going to work every time, but I think in general that's the right thing, is ignore the cheap seats.
Yes. I had a situation where I texted you about an email, and I was like, oh, this makes me feel disgusting. And it surprised me, and it shouldn't have, but it surprised me, and it made me feel yucky. And I had to take a step back. Is there any truth to that statement? And I overanalyzed it for a couple of days. And then I just thought, I'm not doing this. Yeah. I'm not doing this. I'm 41 years old. I don't have to explain myself to somebody who doesn't know me or get me. And I'm not going to waste my time and theirs. Yeah. And it's done. Yeah, and I remember though that email had unfair and untrue statements. And had you wanted to get in the muck of it and say I'm gonna refute all these statements, you could have. Yeah. And there are some people who can't rest until they do and whatever. But what most likely will happen after that? You're gonna get a response that has other things that then you have to respond to that. And it's like, where does it end? Yeah, we have such a limited amount of energy and time and passion, and you have little boys to love and meals to cook and things to write. Why spend all your energy on that when that person can just happily pack up their bags and move on to a new website? Like, be blocked and be blessed. Be blocked and be blessed. It's great. Maybe come back if you see something you like, but or not. It's the nature of what we do. Yeah. And so it invites the cheap seats in, but I don't have to let them live rent free in my mind. Right. Absolutely. You don't have to. You don't have to, and they've got other people to harass down the road, so it's great. They've got to get going. That's right. So you guys just tell those people, be blocked and be blessed, and those are the cheap seats. Those are the cheap seats.